Hey guys. How can you have eaten that so quickly? How? Come on then. Where's a good girl? How did you eat that so quickly? That was super quick. She ate that in 15 minutes. Big bone. Amazing. Okay, just let me finish doing the technical work. That's not right. So hi guys, welcome to Livestream. If you have a question, the problem that I have, Jeremy, is that if I turn on my light in this room, it's the same amount of light in both rooms. I have the same room in each room, the same doors, the same light in each room. And if I turn the light on in here, it has a fan connected to it. So I don't know if there's much I can do about the colour of my face. I suppose I could buy a proper spotlight online, but I'm moving house soon, so then I will be able to do it in a different room, a different light. Yeah. I don't know how I can get more daylight on me. I think it's just investing in a proper spotlight rather than just a lamp for the table. Okay, but anyway, back to live stream. So if you guys want to ask me a question, then you ask a question through Skype, which is Lisa Cairns 12. And you can send me a Skype request and I should answer it. I don't answer all the questions through Skype, I answer some of them, so don't be offended if I don't answer your question. I normally do an intro and then I answer the questions. And I really enjoy talking to someone and doing a live call, but just make sure if you call in live, if you decide you want to speak with me, if you've really got a question. If you just want to chit chat, then it's not appropriate time. It's got to be, you don't have to have like a specific question like what is non-duality or what is this or what is that, but something that you want to work on. So either a specific question about non-duality or something in your daily life that you want to work on. And I really enjoy it when I can talk with someone. I also am happy to answer a written question as well, but just be aware that I won't get round to all of them. And I do these talks every Sunday and for Wednesday, and I've done for years, but I've forgotten the days then. And you can find out if I'm definitely doing on that day from my website, and always check before if I'm doing it, because for the next couple of weeks I'm going to start traveling, so I won't be doing, I think I do one on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, but just check my website to make sure I'm doing it so you're not disappointed. And that's on the online section, which if you're watching the recorded version, it should be linked to this video, my website. Actually, I can put it up now, I think. I can put my website up now, and then you can click on that. And if you want to come to any up and coming events, I have a event coming up in a couple of weeks in the south of Spain, and there is still spots left, so you can still join. That's the 4th to the 11th of November. That's 10-day or 7-day retreat. So you can either stay for 7 days or you can stay for 10 days. And I'm just putting my website up on this video. So it should be that I from Lisa Cairns, it says. And I know why it's different from other times of Saturdays, because now I'm using my iPad, Jerry. That's why the colours changed. It's to do with the iPad and the colours in the iPad. I can do it like this, but it doesn't make it any better really. So the freedom that every human seeks is actually in what's happening. It is what's happening. Pardon me. We as humans believe that freedom's in thought. We can spend a lifetime spinning in thought, in what thought is right, in what thought is true, in trying to get to the right thought, in being talked out of your own thoughts, listening to someone else's thought, or following someone else. But really the freedom is what's happening. And in what's happening, as that begins to be explored, there can be a seeing that what's happening isn't separate, that this reality is not a divided reality. It appears like it can be. It appears like there's a sofa and there's a Lisa and there's a chair and there's a sunflower and there is a painting and there is a wall. But ultimately, when what is really examined, it's seen to not be as it seems. I think I put too many seams in there. Seen, seems, lots of similar words. If you're not an English speaker, that might be a little confusing. So let's take a look at the nature of reality. But I'm just going to close my door because it's cool. I want warmth. So let's explore what is. So first we'll come to experience and then we'll talk about what we know. So in the experience, most people have been told that they are a soul inside this body and they're in relationship with an outside world. So that's what we've been told. We've been told we're a name, we've been told we're a body, we've been told we're our choices, we've been told we're our feelings. And so we kind of feel like we're inside this body looking out at a separate world, looking out at a world out there. And it energetically feels like that. That you're inside, behind the eyes, looking out. But think about energy. So when you feel angry with someone, or when you suppress something, or when you suppress a feeling, what happens is you feel like a knot in your stomach. Maybe not everybody, maybe some people don't feel anything in their body, but generally, when you're not expressing something you feel, or when somebody does something to you, a feeling in the body arises. And it feels like a tension, even though you couldn't exactly say where it is, there is a pain that happens in the body. And that the sense of self arises in the same way, because you've been told so many times that you're inside here, that you're the one looking at this finger, the energy inside the body has begun to express like that. When you were born, you didn't believe you were inside the body. You didn't have a brain functioning that was saying, I'm inside the body, I exist inside the body. There was an alive presence which didn't know what it was. It was just alive. But the memory wasn't working then, so normally people can't remember that. But you can remember as a child not really knowing who you were. There was experiencing happening. And even though it was looking from the angle of the body, the experiencing was happening from the angle of the body, it wasn't really your experience. You didn't, at 2 years old or 3 years old, you didn't really know who you are. But you might remember from childhood that there was a very close sense of joy or being at home. Not all people, maybe some people had a really traumatic first couple of years, but maybe some people can remember this wonder, this childlike wonder of being. And maybe as you got older, you longed to have that back. You longed to connect again to that childlike being. And that childlike being, that innocence is still here. It's just the body has been so conditioned to believe that you're inside here. It's made it feel like you're something limited and that you know who you are. So that wonder has become covered by an identity, by this person that believes it's inside the body looking out at the separate world. And these bodies are meant to be conditioned. They're meant to learn right from wrong. They're meant to learn how to live in a society. They're meant to learn what hurts and what is pleasurable and what's comfortable and what's not comfortable. These bodies are meant to learn and interact with the environment. But it's almost like as humans we've developed this abnormality which says that person is me, that person that's learning, that person that's understanding, that person, that body is me, and that's all I am, is this person that likes things or doesn't like things and is moving through time. And there's been a cut-off from the essence that was there from birth, prior to you knowing intellectually who you were or who you are. And that childlike wonder, that sense of existing and this empty looking is always present in every experience. In every experience there is recognition of the experience, and there is that alive presence, that sense of I am, this is. And that was the same as a child. You can't remember it though because your brain wasn't functioning. Your brain was functioning, your memory wasn't functioning. But you can remember it from early childhood. And the I am, that alive presence, is love. Unconditioned love. Not love for something, not love because you're getting something, not love for another, but total and utter unconditioned love. And that's all everyone on this planet wants, is to remember the love that you are, to have that back, that childlike wonder, playing for no reason. Not playing because of you. Like obviously there's a reason in playing. There's learning, the child needs to learn, but the child hasn't formed this identity that's seeking for that love in time. So there's another layer to that child where it's just playing for no reason. There's this another part. It's not playing to get that love, to get home. It is home, and there's playing happening, and the body is learning from that play. And then as time goes on, the identity begins to cover that love that you are. And then that identity begins to seek for that love in the wrong place. It begins to seek for that love in future and in things. And you won't ever get it. Ever. You won't get it in the future. You are it. It's that which is. It is what's happening. And some people might say this is a spiritual message. Some people might say it's philosophy. Some people might say it's religious. But actually it's really not belonging to any of those titles. It's who you are. It's who you are. This you that comes and goes cannot be who you are. You cannot be a condition. You're that which is ever present. How can you be something that's here one moment and gone the next? How could that be the experiencer of this? Our mind and the way society teaches us, and this is so embedded, is that we're all of these things. We're the body, we're our thoughts, we're our conditions, and all of them come together and make this person inside the body, and make that an experiencer. But actually the experiencer is closer than that. All of those things that come and go cannot be you because they're always subject to change. Your body, your ideas, your feelings. But notice there's something that never changes, and that's why it's who you are. That which never changes. This message has to be delivered so delicately, because easily it can become an excuse for people to what we call spiritually bypass. Easily it can become a cult-like mentality. Easily it can become worshipping a guru and giving your life to the guru. Easily can become all of these things. And I'm not condemning any of those things. I'm not saying they shouldn't happen, but it has to be so clearly pointed out that none of that's it. Easily there can be a getting lost. Now, the spiritual bypassing, the way you get lost in that, is by using the non-duality ideas to try and sort out the psychological. And the non-duality ideas can relax the psychological, but you have to also understand that that isn't freedom. So saying to yourself, so say if you've got a really difficult choice and then you say there is no chooser, choosing will happen in order to relax that panic. It's just a surface band-aid, and it will relax it to an extent, and that's what it's meant to do. But to me, it would be more wise to go to the source of your fear of choosing, say. So say you've got a choice and why that brings up fear, and to understand the conditioned being and why that conditioned being feels the fear around choice. The other way can be helpful, but it's like a band-aid on the surface. So to me, the wise thing to do would be like, okay, why am I feeling this fear? Is there something in the past where I felt this fear? Is this a conditioned fear that keeps keeps preventing me from making choices? Is this something that I regularly experience? And then just exploring that, not trying to get to an end goal, can relax that sensation. But it's not about getting rid of being conditioned. That's part of being human. But when you begin to become conscious of the unconscious, then there stops being this unconscious seeking in finding freedom in those dynamics. So say if you feel discomfort around choosing, because as a child you were always punished for wanting or something. That's just a basic example. So say you were always punished as a child for wanting. So therefore you experience fear around choosing. That might be something that remains with the instrument its whole life. But you just see that fear comes up around choice. You just understand that that's it, and one choice has to be made, otherwise you're going to get into lots of complicated situations. And you accept that fear, and you don't try to seek to find love, or you understand. It's not that you try to do anything, but you understand that love, the love that you look for, doesn't come in choosing the right thing or not choosing. The love that you're looking for is your beingness, is your presence, and in that conditioned psychological reaction, it's a pleasure and a pain, but it's never going to lead you to freedom. Unconscious of that, the energy can keep seeking to try to find love in choosing, believing that if it chooses the right thing, it will find love, it will find home. If it doesn't choose the right thing, it will find home. And then choice becomes super important, and people get tied up in all types of knots. And as you begin to see that home is what you are, then that dynamic will relax. It might never go, but it will relax. It's not about making it go. Each human's going to have its individuations, and with negative dynamics come positive dynamics. Maybe that person researches loads about choices, so therefore it makes wise choices on the positive side. So it's not about getting rid of the conditioned being, but just recognizing what's going on. The home is not in finding the choice, the right choice, and that saying to yourself there is no chooser, there's nobody to choose, it's just the surface level. That's just putting a band-aid on the surface level, and maybe that's beneficial when you're in a really stressful situation at work or something, but it's going to come up again and again and again. If you begin to understand the deeper level of that, the feelings and the sensations, and see that there's no freedom in your choices, then it will relax. It will stop being so tense. Say, if you're a personality type that didn't get enough attention as a child, so it longs for attention from the parent figure, but this is unconscious, and it believes that love, home, is found in the attention of the parent figure. So constantly in society, it places that parent figure in the boss, in the lover, in the guru, in all different people that represent the parent figure. And then it can spend a lifetime trying to please them and get their attention. And that's okay, but it's a painful life, because you're looking for yourself, you're looking for home in something that will never be home. You just didn't get enough attention as a child, so you want that attention, so that's okay. But it's not going to provide you that love of the I am, which you're really looking for. If you don't understand that dynamic and you come into non-duality, maybe you'll spend 20 years with a guru trying to get a guru's attention and not really hearing non-duality, and giving your power always away, and then blaming and hating the guru because they never gave you the attention you wanted. But you're never going to find it in any action. That I am, that love you seek, is yourself, and it's in what's happening. What you seek is what's happening. The reason that it feels uncomfortable and it feels like you've lost something, is because your energy, the separation, believes that that home is in the next thing. But it's right here. It's in that which is experiencing this, which isn't separate from the experience. But this isn't about, not on the human level, the body-mind mechanism not being human. This isn't about being superhuman. That's another fantasy that you've come up with, being a superhero, because you believe you'll get love in that. It's not about being a superhero, this enlightened superhero. It's about that I am presence that's right here. And then the vulnerability of that person on the human level to its particular conditioned way of being. Its unique, totally unique, beautiful way of being, because there's nothing which is the same. So when the separation is always looking for love in time, but love is the I am, which is always here. It's always looking for love in time and trying to avoid fear in time. But that safety and that love you look for is your presence. But now maybe we go to some questions. Hey Isabel. Hi Lisa, what is the official start time for this group, Love and Om Yoga? 6 p.m. French time. But I don't start taking questions, mindfulness, foundation, until I finish with the introduction, because I can see that you called. Enver. Are you alive? Are you alive? Yeah. My question is, are you live? Live, that's a language. You meant live as, have I gone live? Okay. My question was confusing. If words, I thought you were saying something spiritual. Are you alive? But you were saying, are you live? Broadcast. Anyway. If words cannot hurt, but we see that our own... Who says that words do not hurt? So you've started that question saying, if words don't hurt, as if I've said that. Maybe I have. I've made so many videos. God knows what I've said. But we see that our own expression ourselves still makes others sad, angry, or disappointed. What should we do? Words do hurt. So our choice of words do hurt people, but the choice of words or what you do to someone cannot take away your alive presence, but it can hurt the human. So, you know, if I were to say really aggressive, nasty things to you now, you know, there would be hurt more than likely in your body, and if you were to say it to me, there would be hurt in my body. But it cannot touch, nothing can ever take away your presence. And this is the freedom, remembering who you are, who's experiencing now. What should we do? So basically, you know, this is part of life. We say things, or other people say things, and communication can be difficult, and people come away hurt. There's loads of things that you could research on the internet about how to communicate more peacefully, and I totally recommend that. My particular way of communication is to try to tell people how I feel rather than what they've done to me. But you have to also be careful about that, because there's different personality types that you'll be in contact with, and sometimes if you're in contact with certain personality types, you have to know when to just walk away. I'm still learning that, when to just walk away, because we tend to imagine that other people think and feel the same as us. But so if I feel that the other person's open, and sometimes I get that right, sometimes I get that wrong, then, and I want to address something, then I'll start by saying how I feel. Obviously not if it's in a work situation, then I'll be more instructive, like, could you do this or could you do that? And if we have a clash, then I would start saying how that's made me feel, but not in a way of like, I feel angry because of you. Like, just, so say if I'm just making something up, so say if someone started being really in my face and angry about something, and then when they've calmed down, I might say, oh, that made me afraid. I felt fear, and it reminded me of when kids at school, I'm just making this up, used to do it or something. So I try to take it really back to me. But that's not good advice for all personality types. So you need to begin to understand that some humans, they're not evolved enough in their psychology, and they'll just use everything to keep attacking you. So there's also times when you just say thank you, it's sad that we can't communicate, but goodbye, and just walk away. And I'm not an expert, I get it wrong, and I can lose my temper, but not very often anymore. But I can lose my temper because communication can be so infuriating sometimes, but really that's not so often that I lose my temper anymore. I generally I'm quite mellow, and if I feel anger arising, I like to reflect in it, but I can do, because it's hard communicating about certain things. You know, you can be in a rush, there can be so many different complicated things that are happening in life, and there can be explosive energies, and when that happens, then you just start again. You come down from that feeling, and you just examine what's happened, but also pick people carefully, because from my experience, the other person has got to want to have a heartfelt communication. If they don't want that, and they want power or something, then it's pointless, the communication. But there's so many different things we could talk about communication. Not that I'm an expert, but just exploring it and talking about it gives you ideas of how you can deal with it, and how you can deal with people and talk with people. But when I recognize the other person is open, then I just try to always take things back to how I feel and express how I feel. And then that, generally, if the other person's open too, then they'll say, okay, well, when you did that, I felt insecure, which then made me be angry as well, or I felt insecure by this action, and it made me, and then that's a really easy communication. You're both just owning what feelings came up. Rather than saying, you did this to me. It sounded like I said that the second time. But being careful not to say the other person did something. So that screaming created fear in me, or I felt fearful when the screaming happened. You know, really making sure you're not blaming the other person or trying to get them to apologise. And that is the ideal communication, I feel, for me, Lisa, as long as the other person is open for it. If I deem them not open for it, then I tend to walk away or just deal with it the best I can. Hey, Whitney. Hey, Raphael. Hi, Lisa. I booked for your event in Spain, but now I have the possibility to get a place away from my parents' retreat, which means I don't have the possibility to pay for the retreat. Though the choice is difficult because on one side it's taking a step into life outside my old surroundings, and going to a retreat is something that feels really freeing and coming home. But the words you just spoke, choice, I don't really understand what your choice is. So you booked for the possibility to get a place away from my parents, which means I don't have the possibility to pay for the retreat. I see. I think. Yeah. So just know that there isn't freedom in either of those choices. So going to the retreat, or the other choice, which I'm not sure, a place away from your parents, that there isn't freedom in either of those. And then feel or see which one comes stronger. When you feel there's freedom in one or the other choice, that you're going to become free, you're going to get that love, that I am, that presence in one or the other choice, and it becomes super stressful. Your presence is the freedom. The experiencer is the freedom. What's happening is the freedom, the bum on the seat, the breeze on the skin, the warmth or the coldness, the sounds, the sight. This is the freedom. Time is simply an imagination. Hey, Deanna. Maybe the screen resolution on the eye. Hi, Lisa. I have a question. I can't stand other being an egoic person. What is wrong with me? Or ignorance, or lack, or empathy? I can't stand other beings. I'm not sure if that makes sense, Admir. I went through a war, university, big companies, partners, and I just feel egoism and people trying to grab the most amount of money no matter the consequences. I can't do that, so I fall down from the power pyramid into depression. It converts in deep sense of alienation and loneliness. How to combine the way of compassion to the feeling of not belonging. Yeah, it's difficult, right? We're brought up in this society where meaning and love is all about money, getting, owning. That's super stressful, super stressful. I never could do it. I still can't really do it. I don't really enjoy business side of things. Even in these talks, I have to conduct it like a business. Once I tried to do it all by donation, and people didn't donate because they're just not used to it in Europe. To somebody in Europe, if something's by donation, that means a freebie, where in India it's a different mentality. And so I began to have to charge, and I still have to find the right balance, because money is energy. So it's like my energy that I put in, my effort that I put in, it's receiving energy from the other back for that. Because if you keep having one person that puts in all the energy and there's not energy back from that, then that one person will become exhausted. So we have this system of money where they give you money for your energy. Rather than food, they give you money. And everyone's trying to grab as much energy as they can because they believe that's their purpose. And they're so indoctrinated to believe that's the purpose. And then as an animal, we have a tendency to be greedy. You know, if a cake comes out and we're all looking at the cake, all of us want a piece of the cake. So we have this tendency as an animal as well to be greedy and to want the cake. And then it kind of gets put onto money as well. And what I've noticed is in my body with money, I know when I've undersold myself or when I've oversold myself. I know the price of things energetically in my body. And you know, sometimes it happens when you give too much and you get too little in return. And sometimes it's that you give too little and you get too much money in return. And I know that in my body, like I can feel it. I don't always get it right, because sometimes in situations I can feel compassion or sympathy for someone, or I feel unsure to say something, or there's other energy dynamics. But generally in my body I can feel it. And I try to gently move towards that balance rather than just trying to suck all the money for me. I can feel that nice, healthy balance in me. That's what it feels like for me. I don't know about others. And I feel it when I've given too much, or I feel it when I'm given too much. What else was I going to say? And I think that maybe everybody has that natural compass in them, but because we also have a greed dynamic as humans, all of us have this greed dynamic, and then we're conditioned to say that money is purpose, and then we get into this mode of competing, and it becomes a competition, and we believe that's our purpose, but it's not very conscious, and we kind of override our feelings and either become too greedy and have too much, or we're one of those people that doesn't give enough, or gives too much. So somebody that takes too much, or someone that gives too much, someone that doesn't feel like they're worth anything, and so they keep giving too much all the time. But it's a balance. I find that generally the more sensitive you come to your body, you've got a natural balance inside the body. I'm not saying you're always going to get it right, because there's so many other factors involved. There's other people, there's energies, you're having empathy feelings as well, or old traumas. But generally, if you have a good attention in your body should know a lot of these things. You don't have to overthink it. Thanks, Jerry. Hi, Renate. Oh yeah, did I answer your question? To do with the depression, the reason that you're most probably feeling depression, although you can research it on the internet, is because you've been wired to believe that money and future is freedom and is love. And that big carrot's been taken away from you now, so you feel lost. And the problem that will begin to happen is because that carrot's been taken away from you and you begin to feel lost, not love, your chemicals in your body will produce other symptoms, like you might have been exhausted from working so much, and then also because you don't have this thing to focus on, your body's not producing maybe so much serotonin. I don't know that much about the brain. So if you are feeling experiences of depression, what I find helps is exercise, breathing exercises, so prana breathing, exercise, and to get yourself going again, beginning to set goals, just gentle goals. You don't get stuck in staying in bed, and just become aware of your bodily sensations. Just become aware bit by bit what's happening in your body, what you like, what you don't like. You know, maybe you could speak to somebody on the internet. Maybe you could speak to a specialist in understanding yourselves more. Some type of therapy, physical therapy, emotional therapy. Somebody that can give you a greater perspective on yourself. But don't stay in bed and believe that by me saying there is no doer, I'm encouraging you to stay in bed. Because this would keep the brain stuck. But it's very hard because, yeah. But I suppose if you want to speak to me more about that, you'd have to call in or book a session, because I have to speak to you more personally in detail about everything. Hi Lisa, don't say my name. When I hear your voice here, I am empty, and hearing myself, I am a bit shy. Is it the same as seeing the thoughts? What you can do, I can't even pronounce your name anyway, but what you could do is you can change that name. You just click on your picture and go to your profile, and you can change your name, and then there'll be no mistake of me saying your name. Because the problem that I have is that, you know, when you've got a name written in front of you, it's hard to remember not to say it. So I try my best. Remember not to say it. Yeah, so who is it that hears my voice? Who? There is simply speaking happening, and there is nobody that is listening to my words. It might feel like in your body there is somebody here listening, but actually there isn't. There is no distance from the sound of my voice to the listener, to the sounds outside to the listener, to the sights that are seen to the seer. It's one energy movement. One energy. It's beautiful. There is nobody that experiences this life. There is a character that comes and goes, but that's not the experiencer. That's another experience, a beautiful, divine experience, but it's not the experiencer. There is this alive presence that always is, this empty looking, and this I am, and this is home. Remembering of that will change things. Totally change things. There will still be the pains and pleasure of the human, but there will be home, the knowing of home, of where home is. Thanks for your question. Thanks for your thoughts about giving too much and getting no money, or the other way around. Yeah, but don't, Renate, I still sometimes make mistakes. I sometimes still have a tendency to, I can give too much sometimes, and maybe sometimes I take too much too. I'm less aware of that, but my body knows the right balance. But humans are funky, and things happen so quickly, and then it happens. Just understanding the body. You know, the mind and the thinking is really important, but the body has so much to say as well. And just giving it attention. And just exploring what's underneath that. What do I feel there? What's happening in my heart when he does that? What's happening in my gut when they do that? when I give this, what's happening in my stomach. You know, sometimes you meet people and they're giving, I want to give to you, da, 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 da. And really inside, there's like a brick inside them. They don't really want to give, but on the surface they're saying they want to give. Like, so check, you know, when you're giving or when you're taking, what's happening inside your body. You know, sometimes your mind has the idea of wanting to be this really giving person because you think that's lovable, but in your tummy it's like, no! And just explore what's happening in your tummy there. Don't be afraid of it. It's okay. We can all be stingy. Of course, I'm never stingy. We can all be stingy at points, and we can all feel too tired for something. So there's nothing wrong with exploring that. You know, if you're giving and you feel a rock in your stomach, I would examine that. Just like an investigation. There's nothing to get to. There's nowhere to get to in that. It's just exploring it openly. Sometimes we tell ourselves a story of what we want to be, but internally we feel something really different. Hi Amit. What are your thoughts about relationships? Sexual relationships or family relationships? Yeah. Ultimately, there is no relationship, but in the character world there is relationship. So ultimately, in the absolute, who are you in relationship to? Who is in relationship with who? But in the character world, we have mothers, we have fathers, we have lovers, we have boyfriends, we have husbands, and we have wives, and we have girlfriends, and children, and dogs. Hey, Khaleesi. Hi, lovely Lisa. I was wondering if you could please talk about what it was like for you prior to becoming enlightened. Did you start feeling different or notice any major differences right before? Did it happen all at once? I'm just curious what the path looks like. Thanks again for everything. Hi Megan. So okay, this is super complicated to talk about. So my character is not enlightened. So when you're asking me to tell the story of the character's enlightenment, it's kind of a big contradiction because that character didn't become enlightened. This is so hard to talk about. Even though something seemed to happen in the character's story, there was this break in the character's story where something really radical and beautiful happened, and it relaxed the character to a certain extent. That character never gets to own it. My character isn't enlightened. Even though it seems like it is, because it's talking through this body and then it looks like it is. This is the terrible trap of trying to talk about this subject. So my character, you know, still cries when she sees something sad, and I am not perfect. I can get angry, I can be joyful, I can be overexcited, I can talk too much, I can be selfish, I can be generous, I can feel uncomfortable, I can feel very comfortable. The freedom was something revealing itself that was always there, and this energetic movement from being contracted and bound to that character, to this boundlessness. And that affected the character, that did have an effect on my character. And maybe at first I looked too much into the personal dynamics that had changed, but then over time I realized they could change back, or or they changed. The personal dynamics are always changing. And maybe at first I focused on that a bit too much, the personal dynamics, you know, like I felt some personal dynamic shift, but then I began to realize they change, and whatever I said could be contradicted. And on the personal level, the personal level is still personal, but the revealing of this it's so obvious now. Like, that's how I can talk about it so clearly and do hours and hours of talks, because there is a home no matter what my character's going through, even if it's sobbing because of a relative being ill, or because your boyfriend says something mean to you, or whatever. There is also this freedom. There's a knowing of something beyond me. But this is so hard to talk about. What happened in my story was I went through this massive spiritual journey, and through all this spiritual journey I did loads of different things, and I questioned my personality, and I lived with my ex-boyfriend that's a spiritual teacher, and did all these different things. And I listened to non-duality. I listened and I listened and I listened. And then a shock happened. I lost a lot of things all in one go. And suddenly I didn't have the possibility to imagine my future. I couldn't make up what my past had been. Like I couldn't really work out what happened. It was all happened so quickly. And prior to that, I had been having these awakenings, but I didn't really know that I was having these awakenings. It's like I would just suddenly have this experience where I was so involved in what was happening. There was such an intimacy of what was happening, and it was empty. Like there was this emptiness as well. And I was having these experiences on and off, but because they were on and off, my mind couldn't really grab onto it. And so I, for some reason, didn't really think about it that much. I just didn't know what to put that down to. And then when this thing happened, this like expansion happened, like a moving back to something, or a moving into something of what I already was. So it feels like you're something contracted inside the body, but actually you're this empty looking in the I am, and neither of those are limited. We walk around as if we're limited, but we're ultimately not limited. So there can be this remembering of that, which can feel like an expansion back in to who you are. And that freedom isn't a mental thing. I used to think that freedom was a mental thing, and it's not a personal thing. Like I still have the imprint of all, there's still the imprint of Lisa. There's still Lisa in which life is being experienced through, and she comes with all her qualities and all her dynamics. It's really not on the human level about being a superhuman. I sometimes feel that the unfortunate thing about a lot of gurus that express this is they have a personality type that is a perfectionist and likes to project to others this perfect being, that they're this enlightened perfect being, and I feel like it distorts the true message. And that's just a personality type. Their parents maybe always projected that. They were grown up like that they are the ruler and they are perfect. Or they have that projection out to people, and they tend to be the people that push themselves forwards. They tend to be the people that speak about it. But it changes now because of the internet. And so because of the internet, people like me begin to express this message that isn't trying to project perfection. that's quite open to talking about things that maybe to some people don't seem perfect, or to exposing herself. And there's other speakers that are doing that. But if it hadn't been for the internet, I doubt I'd ever started speaking, because I have I'm a talker and I love speaking, but I'm a bit of an introvert, so I'm not that sort of person that would go and set up a big organization and be like, hello. I like doing retreats, but I'm even considering giving up all public talks that aren't through the internet. But I like doing retreats because they tend to be small and intimate. So, but in the past, you know, if you look at the figures that we have in our imagination that have expressed this, like the Buddha, and they're like portrayed as some sort of gods. Jesus. We've got characters like Muji on the scene, like all these different guru types that portraying some godlike figure, and it's not bad, that's just what's happening, but it gives the impression to the seeker that they've got to become some superhuman to be enlightened. But you're already enlightened. Like the Buddhism, they say, the Buddha nature, it's the remembering of that, it's the movement back to that. You can forever improve the human, forever. Even the Buddha could have improved himself on the human level. But because of the personality type, they'll have said that they couldn't. That, I mean, ultimately they are perfect, but I mean, like you can endlessly grow the dynamics to be more compassionate, more generous, or whatever it is, or to release traumas, and then you'll get new traumas. In the flow of things, anything that exists as a thing can always evolve. Anything. And it's always heading that way to evolve and to change and to grow. And once it's got to its maximum growth, in a lot of things, they tend to die, and they pass on that information to the next generation, to the next generation. And particular experiences did happen for me prior to the awakening, but that's this particular body-mind story. Doesn't mean it'll be your story. Hi Lisa, nice cup of tea and meeting with this is it. Earl Grey, nice. Nice Sue. Hey Julia, nice picture. Oh, that's super cute. Hi Jan. Hi Lisa, can you explain more about what you mean by the freedom? Thank you, Jan. Well, there is, in your current experience, even though it's not yours, but in the experience, there is something that is not bound by a thing. And that's what the freedom is. So find that in your experience which is not bound by a thing. So it's not a feeling, it's not a thought, it's not an idea, it's not a sensation. And that which is not bound by a thing is actually all things. That sounds like such a riddle. That's like such a riddle. Okay, I'm going to go to the toilet before I take the next question. was a loss of connection momentarily. Funny. I just have to turn the sound off on this. Hi Richard. Hi Linda. Hi Lisa, I wanted to know your take on depression and deep self-hatred. Hi Lina. Oh, thanks Lina for your question. It seems to be a subject a bit tonight. Your take on depression and deep self-hatred and shame about appearance. I have isolated myself since I was little, and for years and years I have been constantly afraid, with anxiety and depression and a spinning mind, staying at home. I feel stagnated and stuck. I want to love, not based on appearance or myself or others. This is a fixation that I, more often than not, find myself in. It makes me want to not be in what is, because it's mostly pain. Well, Lena, I would just recommend finding a therapist that specializes in that. And I know that can make you feel really vulnerable, me saying that, and that's not saying there's something wrong with you at all. Like when I've suggested this to other people, they almost take it as an offense, but it's really not an offense. I'm still learning about my personality structure, and I really enjoy, not all the time, but every so often I find a new therapist online or a new therapy technique that I love to learn about. So to learn and understand better about Lisa, about other people I meet, and I'm always open to learning. And there's so many things that you could learn about this, so many things. Now I can point out to you non-duality, and that's super important to understand non-duality, because if you use therapy without understanding non-duality, I feel like you just move in a circle. You have to understand that there's something beyond therapy. The therapist, though, is not going to understand about non-duality, so don't bring it up with them. Just be wise. You might find some therapists that do, but find a therapist that specializes in this, and then you use them. You see, if you want to portray a particular image to them, like that you're non-dual or you're this or that, then it's not going to work. But you just use them to find out as much information about yourself that you can, to try to understand the personality structure, to relax that personality structure. But also listen to non-duality, but don't talk to the therapist about that, because they'll end up trying to fix you about that, or they won't understand, etc. And then use non-duality to see that that personality structure isn't you. So there's these both sides, because otherwise, you know, you can endlessly fix the personality structure, and if you believe it's in fixing this personality structure, then you'll always be in that game. But it's just getting to a point where you can begin to do what you want, Lena, and you can feel more at peace on the personality level. So non-duality, me telling you about non-duality and who you truly are, that is the ultimate freedom. But if you've got all this pain inside of you, then it's going to be so hard to hear that. When I was younger, I had some difficult conditioning and I had to get therapy. I had to learn to deal with that. And I still use techniques that I've learned, or new things I learn, in order to keep this personality structure in check, and make sure that it doesn't go back to old relationship patterns or old ways of being that I was taught for so many years in my childhood, so I can recognize if that happens. Just like if you, like in AA, like this Alcoholics Anonymous, they always use AA. They always call themselves an ex-alcoholic or an alcoholic, I can't remember. So like on the personality structure often wants to be done. The personality structure wants to arrive. So it wants to be enlightened, it wants to be finished. But you're never going to finish or be done on the personality level. If you keep looking for that, then you'll miss a freedom that's already here. But when your personality is really stuck with depression or self-hatred, you need to ask for help from a psychologist, from people that have been studying this. And psychology is always growing, because it's something like we invent all these things and then we have to fix all these things. So it's a subject which is growing and always changing and evolving, but you can use it to help understand where you're feeling stuck, because there's so many reasons why that's appearing. You're not stuck with being depressed or having self-hatred. That's a result of something that's happened to you in the past, and your body's in trauma from it, and that can be fixed, or that you can work with it to get it to a more balanced, livable way of being. Sometimes we come to non-duality and there's like a defense in us that doesn't want to go for therapy, because it thinks that therapy is saying there's something really wrong with me, or I've made a mistake in life, and we feel too ashamed to do that. So we hear non-duality, this thing that's talking about something beyond the personality structure, and like our grandiose, it's like, yes, that's the problem. And then we don't want to deal with these more personal things. So that's my advice, Lena. Like, I could go into you with these things about depression and self-hatred, and I could share, but this is like one little statement that you've sent me, and I can't possibly work with just what you've sent me, and this isn't the right place to go into these things so deeply. And you need a safe space to expose yourself and to express yourself, and to be given the tools to explore what's going on. But this is a step that you're making. And and I hear people, oh, I've been into therapy for years and it doesn't work. Change therapists, change it. It worked. Like, I just learned so much, and you can change things from understanding the personality structure, but also keep up with non-duality as well, because that's the ultimate freedom, that you are this I am presence. Hi Ephrat. Hi dear Lisa. What you said about difficulty to make choices. I am not working over a year. I feel I don't want to go back to work. I look inside to see the fear of choosing, and I can't find anything. I just want to find a work that makes me happy and not feeling like I'm working. I laugh at that because obviously that's everybody's ambition. to get that. I'm not saying that that's not possible, but it's a difficult subject because we're living in an identified society which provides us our money. So the jobs are all based on working for these companies that we're not interested in. So it is a complicated subject, and obviously that's what you want. That's what everybody wants, and that's the way it should be. We should all be encouraged to follow our passion and what we're interested in. I feel like a child who wants to be embraced by life and that it will take care of me. Yeah. But again, this is too broad a subject for me to go into detail with you. You know, this I need a lot of time to work through that with you, to understand what you want, to understand what you feel, to understand the fears of choice. Like, I can't just do it in one sentence now. Ultimately, the ultimate freedom is that you are. That's the freedom. But you're asking me a personality structure question, and that's going to take time. And, you know, maybe live on Livestream with 100 and something people watching, and then a couple of thousand people watch it afterwards, is not the right place to go into that. It's not the safe place for us to discuss it. Hey Lisa, question for Livestream. I've been listening to this message for many years from many speakers, and they have had many profound realizations and states of awakening. But I still feel like I haven't really got in. There is still a difference between how I experience myself and life and how I imagine you do. Forget me. Forget me. Your mind is just using me to make you feel bad. If you feel I've got something that you don't, forget me. I am just trying to convey knowledge. Forget what you imagine my experience is, because you'll never ever know what my experience is. What you know is that experience. That's a huge trap. And who knows what other people's experience is? So if you imagine that mine is bigger and better than yours, of course you're going to feel like that. Forget it. Forget what you think I have over you. There is still a difference between us. Is there anything I can actually do right now to try to wake up all the way? Many thinks, see that thought for what it is. Wake up all the way. You have to take everything back and see the presence that is. You won't find it in you waking up all the way, because that doesn't exist. What does exist now? What does exist now? This is still from Lena. It wasn't offensive to suggest to go to therapy. I'm just a bit stuck in the notion of having to accept what is because it is. Confusing that with the story into the past and future that has always been a fixation. And even more with non-duality. Thank you. Maybe I book a session with you. Yeah. Although I'm not a trained therapist, I'm incredibly wise for the 37 years. I'm not trained in that, but I can help you explore. Hi, Beth. Your mention of charges. I love your free Wednesday, Sunday talk time, but from a charging perspective, you might care to look at this group coaching program. Love and Om Yoga. Okay, thanks. Yeah. I have been thinking about looking into something like that. But isn't that the point of you giving this talk and us listening, that we become enlightened? That's mental. It's a mental idea. The person does not become enlightened. That's a mental idea. You have to see what's beyond that. See what you're truly longing for. So on the ultimate, see what's beyond that. The idea of you becoming enlightened. Why is your mind producing that thought? It's the same dynamic as if you were in a job and you were imagining having the boss's job, how much better your life would be then. You have to explore what your current experience is and see the freedom in the current experience, that you are the I am presence. On the human level, it's not about the human level. Who are you? Who are you? Lisa, the money, this discussion was a revelation for me. It released an agitation I've felt the whole day. With you, I feel I have received a lot more than I have given back. I don't know what to say about it. I've never met you, so I just have seen your picture and your name. A Vidyas. Hi Wiz. Hey Phyllis. I want to ask one important question. Hi Lisa, nice hearing you again. Best wishes. Hi Petro. Oh, you're up here. Okay, well, maybe that's enough for tonight. We've been going a long time. Basically, the freedom is in what's happening. I like this one, I think. Okay guys, thank you very much. I wish you a beautiful evening. Thanks, bye.